Hello and welcome, this is Franck Contrepois, and today I'm gonna present you the curve validation tool that I've been building recently. And so as every one of my video does, we're gonna start with some context. And the context is I was proposed a job in a massive company with lots of silos, layers, and services, and to act as the head of FinOps. And I was very worried that it would be extremely hard to get access to the data, to FinOps software, to get AWS services permissions and all of this. And in my head, I always think that I have 2 weeks to show value to people, mostly because in 2 weeks is the time you can stay under the radar and no one notices you. But then after 2 weeks, they're going to start caring. So what can I do? Assuming that I cannot get much out or I cannot get much done. And so in the end, the answer was, okay, I just need to rebuild the tools. I need to have access to only read-only S3 and only with the bucket of where the curve file is. I don't want to have Athena, I don't want to have Glue, I don't want to have Lambda, I don't have to have CloudFormation, nothing complicated from the IAM permission perspective. And the idea is that I wanted to have this and then say, okay, this I can potentially download the curve file, but what do I want to do with that? I want to be able to run all the queries I need onto that file and get only the output sent to me. So the idea is that it's simple. It's going to be a command line. You just run curve validation, validate, and the curve file. It's going to generate CSV export for each query, parquet file for each query, HTML dashboard, it's tables for each query. It also includes some JSON report and JUnit XML. That's for integration with other systems if we have them. And yeah, it requires zero other service. You don't need any AWS service. You just need read-only access to the curve file. So no more complicated permissions. Everything runs locally, so it can be on your own computer or it can be run into a VM or whatever you need, but you have total control over that. It's made with plugins, so you can add more queries as you add, and we will see that there are some plugins that have been built up of 4 queries that do more than, I think, 150 or something like these queries. It's going to come out in multiple formats. The S3 integration, it can do direct streaming. So if you don't want to download all the file onto your computer, you can just have it streamed, works too. And it's performance optimized by using DuckDB. So let me talk about the plugins. At the moment, there are 4 plugins for curve validation. And so as a user, you will be able to create your own plugins or change these plugins, okay? There is a license for curve validation as a whole, but it doesn't block you in any form or way. It's made on purpose, so you can create your own plugins. You can update the existing plugins. You do whatever you want. That's fine with it. What I'd like you to change is the core. So let's go with this first one, which is the curve validation, what is called the curve summary plugin. And so it goes and it's more than 90, but yeah, it goes and does all the curve query library. There we go, 105 SQL files. And for analytics, you have 8 models, and it's going to check everything that is there. So it's going to run all the curve query library, giving you information about reserved instance savings plan, spot instance, Graviton, storage optimization, other resources, Lambda, Aurora. All of these things are going to be analyzed, and you will be able to have a complete view of that. The second plugin is the curve support plugin. So the support tier plugin is just using what AWS provides as the pricing. It's going to do some analysis out of that. It's going to put a tolerance, and it's going to run all the, it's going to check how much you should have been paid. You should have been paying AWS, and then it's going to come back with and check, do the numbers, and see if that matches what effectively you've paid. So it's going to identify the line that talks about, hey, this is how much you spend for support, but then it's going to reverse engineer everything to say this is how much you should have paid, and if there is a difference, it's going to complain. The other thing, so it's the usage time rate rate validation plugin. It's going to do usage amount times unblended rate, and it needs to be equal to the unblended cost. That usually is never a problem, but just in case. So the unit economic validation plugin, it's not really validation in this case, but it surfaces some cost per unit metrics. You know, the usual, what do we say about unit economics? You start with something overall. So for example, it will show you the cost per account. It will show you the cost per EC2 on demand, EC2 spot, so per hour of on demand on average in that account, RDS engine, storage gigabyte per hour, different types of storage, networking, internet egress. Those are all starting points, and the idea is that this is going to give me a baseline of what is the thing today, and so I can over time, if I run this on a regular basis or after events, and these events being reported in the curve, I should be able to start looking at reductions or increases depending on what happened. There we go. So let's go into some more fun bits, some more technical aspect. We're going to do the installation of the curve validation. So first of all, it's done in minutes, okay? And the two things you really need is the Docker tar file, which is something that will look like this: curve dash validation dash a year, a month, and versioning. In my case, it's an ARM because I'm learning on a Mac. If you were on an x86, you would have an AMD there. There is also the documentation, Docker Quick Start Book, which is the one we're following at the top. So the prerequisites, you need to have Docker running and installed, which in my case is, yeah, it's there. And you need to have the file, that's done. You need to have a curve file with some S3 data in it, and you only need read access to that one. And you need to have your AWS credentials configured. So in my case, I've installed the AWS CLI on my computer and configured it so that I can access that curve file that I'm talking about, and that's done, that's fine. The AWS saved the credentials into my home directory, into .aws, to leverage that without having to pass, copy, paste, or make anything unsecure with credentials. So next, we will need, so we're going to start. We have everything we need. We're going to have to load the Docker image. So what does that mean? Is that it means that it's going to take it from that tar file that you've received, and it's going to put it in, bring it up inside Docker, because that all needs to be inside Docker. So I'm going to put this is the one I want. I'm going to run this. Here we go. And then I can see, in my case, I have a Docker desktop. It shows it here. So it's up and running. Happy days for me. But if I want to check, I can also use this Docker image ls, and it's going to show me all the images I have. And one is curve validation, which is exactly what I'm looking for. So that's great. We're good. And now the other thing I need to do is I need to create two directories. And these directories are going to be the output of my curve validation. So there is one which is exports, where all the files, CSV and Parquet will be, and one which is reports, which is more for CI/CD systems if you have any. So now we've done that, everything's okay. I can see that those are there, export and report. Excellent. Let's move on. I just need now, the installation is done. Okay. I just need to run all of that. And so here we go. I'm going to copy, I'm going to paste. What do I need to change in here? I need to change some things. I need to change this because it shows AMD, I'm IRN, and I need to make sure that it's correct. And here I need to put the curve file I am going to use. Okay. And whatever file, whatever amount of Parquet files that are going to be under input or CSV files are going to be imported. So if you just want to have 1 month, just go to 2025/October or 10 and just do that. If you want a year, you can just go to 2025. It's going to adapt to whatever you have. And in my case, I've decided to do stream. So that means that the data is not going to be downloaded and installed on my computer. I'm just going to take it on streaming. And the full is here just to highlight and say, I want everything. I want you to get the data. I want you to create all the intermediate tables that I need. I want you to run all the queries that are available in all the things. So this is running lots of logs. I still have logs which are always in double. I need to investigate that, but that's details. It goes through. He found 4 plugins, which is good. And now it's done already. It's run all those queries. Everything you see there is just the export of something that's already run. So all of this is really useful information extracted from the code that you'll be able to use. And that's it. So now all of this is done. If I do an ls, I can go to, I'm going to do ls exports. You have tons of things in here. So you can see that there is a usage time rate that checks that usage time rate is applied correctly. There is one that does unit economics and gives you tons of stats. There's one that does an analysis on a validation model. And then there is a summary plugin, which has all the query libraries. And so let's go and try to show you something there. And then I'm going to be over. So we're going to show this one, cost per RDS hour, but we want to see this in the browser, for example. And so I'm going to do an open HTML, exports, HTML, this stuff. And here we go. Let me show that to you in here. And zip. There we go. And so you can download the CSV, but it has 27 rows, which is not much. Perfect. You can download the parquet. It shows you the account, shows you there is an overall thing that does a summary of everything, total hours, amount. So that gives you a cost per hour of this. And all of this, then you will need to validate, recheck, but normally that's all done for you now. So that's the unit economic. This is the example of an output. So this is an example that I've built in some few hours to create a UI for all this data. But the idea is that you would create your own, you would use that into whatever tool you use to have or you have easy access to. It can be Power BI, can be QuickSight, can be just Excel, whatever you want. And you will be able to analyze things. I just wanted to showcase observable framework and see if that would work for what I'm doing. But yes, it would work. And so, for example, I have one page which is some sort of a summary of everything. We've seen the curve summary dashboard. So this one will try to create some graphs. We'll show some interesting things, some information around this that is coming from the curve using the standard curve library queries. The support tier, see, we can say based on the data, and mine was an incomplete curve file. I was expecting 5,745 and 62, and I found 107,000. So I have a massive discrepancy, which is where the two failed things are coming from. There is a unit economics one that goes into, hey, this is on a per account basis, but then you go to EC2 cost analysis. So how much does an hour of EC2 cost in spot, in non-spot, in on-demand, etc., etc. You have a storage analysis and all these other fun bits. So those are all results from the different plugins. And this one also shows me that 99 pass, 0 fail, Ep3, Yupido, Yupida. 8 were ignored, so the 93%, for example, in this case is a positive thing. And on average, the difference is something like 0.070 1. So yeah, we're good to go.